Welcome back to the Cheer Athlete, everyone. Today I have with me Maria. I hope I say this right. Weissman?
It's
Wisman?
Wisman. Yeah, everybody says Wiseman. Everybody. So you almost had it.
Maria Wisman she is from Westerville, Ohio, and she is a former cheerleader at Ohio State University and with USA Cheer, and she is currently a personal trainer, but also a now physical therapist, doctor of physical therapy. And I'm so excited to talk to you today, Maria, about all things cheer related as far as strength and conditioning and physical therapy and your business, Everybody Should Lift. And I'm going to start with saying I love your name of your company because I think finally we are realizing that cheerleaders, it's okay for us to lift, and I think that's a fabulous name of a company. So great, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about your cheer history and what brought you to today when you have your company and where you're at today.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on here. I think you did a really good job of introducing me and giving a little bit background information. So I cheered in undergrad at OSU from 2016 to 2020, and I was on the USA cheer team from 2018 and 2019. I won 2 gold medals when I was with USA Cheer. And then from 2020 to 2023, I've been in physical therapy school, working on getting my doctorate. Last year, I started the personal training business, Everyone Should Lift. And I'll talk a little bit about like why I named it that and everything too in a second. But I started that business last year. And since then, I've been working mostly with cheerleaders, trying to get them in the weight room, trying to get cheer teams in the weight room more often, trying to get cheerleaders to learn about how to lift to improve their cheer skills and also reduce injury risk. Because I noticed when I was a high school cheerleader, I was getting injured all the time and I was just having slow progression of my cheer skills. And then when I got to college, I started lifting with the strength and conditioning coaches at OSU, and I got so much better, so much faster. I reduced my injuries, like almost like after I started lifting consistently, I no longer had those like nagging injuries that were holding me back in high school. And it just did so much for me. So I wanted to help other cheerleaders kind of learn how to use those strength and conditioning principles to help them improve in their sport. But so now I just graduated from physical therapy school. So I still offer the personal training services, but I'm moving into a role as a physical therapist and offering the physical therapy services as well.
That's very exciting. It's have you were you as an athlete at OSU, were you guys just automatically accepted into the weight room, like no problem, go in and like here's your coach?
Yeah. So OSU is very, very lucky. Like there are so many college sports teams or college cheer teams that don't have any access to the weight room. Even like D1 level cheerleading teams do not have access to their weight room. They're not seen as a sport in their school still, or they just have limited resources. So OSU is very lucky in that we do have a strength and conditioning coach like specifically for us, and we are in the weight room twice a week. So we had tons of resources, and like as soon as I was on the team, it was expected that we had access to the strength and conditioning coaches, the weight rooms, like nutritionists, sports psychologists, all of that stuff. So I was very lucky, but that seems to be not the norm in the cheer world, even in college.
Yeah. When I was coaching at Holy Cross, I had to advocate to get them in, and it was, we had to go at off times, but once they were in, it was like I could see a big difference in our injuries too, as a coach. But I think they were very well accepted once they were in there, but it wasn't even a thought because we weren't a sport. We were, a club team, and it was not even like considered really part of the teams, and that was mostly for the varsity athletes for that at that point. But I do think it makes a big difference, and hopefully we're going to see more of a transition into that, especially into the D1 cheerleaders, like that it's goes across the board, because it does make a big difference. Yeah. This is kind of it's a broad question, but at OSU, and then again we'll talk PT school because that's to me it's even more, but especially in postgrad. But as an undergrad, when you're cheering, how did you manage cheering on top of all your studies and then being in the weight room and doing the injury prevention stuff, uh, like you have to be very scheduled. So how was it a big transition for you coming from high school into that? And how did that flow for you?
Um, I would say yes and no. I was always very busy in high school too. I did cheer and track. I worked a job and then I had school. So then when I went to college, it was different because the schedule is more up to you. Like you don't have classes exactly like 8 to 3 every day or it's set time. So you have to kind of come up with your own schedule, which was a little bit more challenging. But the cheer team provides a schedule for you, like when you're going to be in the weight room, they hold you accountable. So having other people around me to hold me accountable and to help me was huge, starting out in college. And I also found that like the busier I was, the better I did in school, just because it forces you to get things done in a timely manner and it forces you not to procrastinate. So the years where I was traveling with USA, I had to take some of my finals in different states because I was traveling with USA training and doing all of that. So I had to take my finals online. And those semesters, I had the highest grades out of any other semester because I just like had to sit down and get it done right away so that I could go and train and practice the rest of the day. So I found that being busy helped me, but also just like I was always surrounded by a team of people that had the same goals on the cheer team and then just coaches and everyone else.
Yeah, they say that athletes in general that have that big structure, they tend to do better. And I find that true. Like, for especially on cheerleaders too. Like, and then you talk your travel schedule. Like, did you travel? So USA Cheer to me is new. I'm just learning about it now and seeing it all over social and kind of, and it's very exciting. Um, so you had to travel for practices and like in all over the place at the same time you were in school?
So it was we try out in January and then everybody on the team is from a different state. I mean, there's usually like a few from a certain state, from certain teams, but everybody's kind of spread out throughout the country. So we all get together and try out in January. And then I guess I don't know if it's still like this. This is what it was like when I cheered. Tried out in January, and then you go back to your schools. You find out if you made it. If you made it, you're put into like a group message with the coaches, and you're told to send in videos throughout the next couple of months. So you have to take like stunting and tumbling videos to show that you're making progress and working on the skills that are going to be in the routine that we compete in April. So then we don't meet up again until there's one practice weekend, usually in like February or March. So you meet up for like a week or a weekend, work on some skills together, and then you disperse again, go back to colleges, and then you meet up again in April, the beginning of April, to start a couple weeks of preparation before you compete. So it is a little bit of traveling, but you're not with the team as much as you would think, I guess. So we have like a very short window to work together as a team and practice together before we compete, because everybody's so dispersed throughout the country. But it always happened to be around finals time in April where I needed to travel the most.
Right. That's karma, or not karma, but funny the way that will always work. Yeah. And so you must have had to be used to, like, did you just practice when you're keeping up with your skills? Like, did you go to an all-star gym? Did you stay up with the OSU team? Like, or how did like, and then did you have to be used to just being able to jump in and stunt with anybody as you go along, right?
Yeah. So the first year I tried out for USA Cheer, I tried out with somebody else on the Ohio State cheer team, and we both made it as a pair. So it made it really easy to do our stunts together, that they wanted us to send in for videos to the coaches, because we would just do it like before, after practice. We would meet up on campus. Sometimes we went to some all-star gyms, but often we were just stunting in the grass area somewhere outside of campus. Everything's on dead mat. So you go to a dead mat or you do it on the grass. You don't really need spring floor. So that year it was a little bit easier. My second year, I did not try out with somebody on the team. I tried out alone. and I made the team, but then when I had to send in the videos of stunts and all of that, it made it a lot more difficult because I had to find a partner to do it with. So sometimes I'd be stunting with people on the Ohio State cheer team. Sometimes I'd be traveling to Cleveland to stunt with somebody, just trying to like find people to get these videos done with. So it's a little harder.
That's I think that's exciting from my, like, as an outsider. I'm like, wow, that's so cool, like to be able to learn and do that and be able to find and coordinate that. I think must have been a huge challenge. Put that on top of PT school. I think, my goodness, how did you make that all happen? Like, that's incredible. And
I just cheered in undergrad. I stopped in 2020, so I didn't cheer in PT school, but that's when I started the business. And
okay.
I still post a lot of my USA videos, but they're from a few years ago.
Well, it makes sense then. So let's shift to PT and your business. What are some common, I'm going to focus mostly on the personal training end, but what are some common things that you're seeing in the cheerleaders that you're working with in the weight room that they complain of, that potentially may translate if you have some clients that you've worked with that, injury wise, like either PT or personal training? Like, what are some common complaints that you're seeing as cheerleaders?
You mean common complaints as in like injuries or?
Yeah, so either injuries as in PT or like in the weight room, like they can't do something or can't, like what do they struggle with in the weight room?
Okay. I think just in general, since cheerleaders aren't used to the weight room, just like getting them in there is the first step, trying to get them in there and make it seem less intimidating and less scary than just going out on your own. And then once they're in the weight room, cheerleaders often do very well lifting. Like cheerleaders and gymnasts, they already have the body control. They just need a little extra coaching to do some of the lifting movements they've never done before. So I think they do really well once they get in the weight room. I think the hardest part is getting them there in the first place. One, because school resources are usually low, or they think that they maybe shouldn't be in the weight room. And then two, a lot of cheerleaders, especially flyers, are afraid to lift because they think it's going to make them bigger and bulkier. So I think that's just the number one thing, like trying to get them in there, get them to realize that it's not going to make you bigger and bulkier. It's only going to help you improve in your sport. And then going from there. And then I guess injury wise, the thing that I see most often is probably lower back pain in cheerleaders. I think it's really common in the general population as well, but with cheerleaders doing so many back handsprings, extending their back all the time, and then not having the strong foundation because they're not in the weight room to do all of the bounding and pounding that they're doing when they're tumbling and all of that. I often see a lot of people come in that have lower back pain.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably the most common that I see. And I think a lot of times we tend to just brush it off. They're like, oh, my back's a little sore, until it gets to the point where, like, yeah, if I lift another person, I'm not going to be able to do this. And that's exactly where, one, getting into physical therapy and learning how to move, and two, getting stronger will help with. Do you use a specific training program, like, or do you individualize it? Do you have a screening process? How do you know what you're doing for programming?
Yeah, so I kind of have a screening process. I take all of my athletes, like with my first visit with them, we do some sort of a movement screen. So I kind of created one for cheerleaders. I have it on my Instagram. It's like a free cheer movement screen, I think is what it's called. I've kind of changed it around a little bit in the last few months. So the one that's on my Instagram isn't exactly what I do with my clients, but I always test their core strength. I always test like their single leg squat. I think you should be able to do a pistol squat, at least for most athletes. I test their vertical jump height. I test their shoulder flexibility because that's really important for back handsprings and low back pain. I test squat endurance. And then, I test their ankle mobility. And then I also test their core strength when they're upside down in a handstand.
That's
So
a
I
good
usually
one.
run them through those types of screening to see where they're at and to see where they're weak. Like maybe they have a lower vertical jump height, but everything else looks good. Then I know to focus in on like the power development aspect for that athlete.
Cool. And do you, so first question I want to ask is more, are there a couple of tips that you can give for someone that is wanting to improve, as a cheerleader, as you know, in the strength and conditioning realm, physical therapy and strength and conditioning realm? Are there any tips that you can provide that are, yeah?
I guess my biggest advice is to just start somewhere. I think a lot of people are just afraid to start. They're afraid that they're going to like have the wrong technique, or they're going to look funny in the gym, or they're going to do the wrong. I think a lot of people are afraid they're going to do the wrong lifts and it's all of a sudden going to make them like this big, huge, like bulky person. And that's just not going to happen. You just have to start somewhere. You're not going to have the perfect technique when you first start. All you need to do is start with lighter weights and like work your way up there. The more you practice, the better your technique will get. So you don't need to get stuck in the paralysis of trying to analyze your technique and trying to reach this perfection. You just kind of have to start somewhere. And then your training will evolve as you learn more about lifting, and as you just practice more in the weight room. But also it's really good to have a mentor help coach you through it. It just makes the process a little bit faster. They can teach you the fastest way to improve your goals, if you're doing it on your own, you'll probably still get to your goal eventually. We just don't know. Who knows how long it'll take.
I on a injury wise, I'll encourage that also, because I literally just yesterday worked with somebody who had knee surgery 6-7 months ago, was doing well, was discharged from therapy, and was doing well. We went through some basic lifts, and was on his own working out with, and doing that, but didn't really have any guidance as to the structure of his workouts. And he's like, yeah, I went heavy and just squatted heavy one day and my knee's been sore ever since, and didn't hurt during, and he didn't have an injury, but he wasn't ready to be at that level yet. And he's just like, I want to squat and I want to squat heavy. And so he just was squatting all the time, and which is great. I think a squat is a great exercise, but the point being, have the guidance and like get a program so that if you want to build up strength, whether it's for cheer or anything, like if you want to build up leg strength or upper body strength, like you have to do it in a progression, and you have to challenge your muscles differently so that it's not all repetitive. And then that will help prevent the repetitive injuries, as well as the lifting too heavy when your body's not ready for that. So get a coach is get
a coach, and people just do better with structure. Like I even go to classes. I don't program my own stuff. I like to have somebody else tell me what to do. It just, for some reason, when I'm working out, I don't want to think about anything. I want somebody else to tell me what to do. I think I get a better workout that way. I think I do better with structure. I think people in general just do better with structure, or just having like an outsider perspective, or somebody else looking at your programming, if it's just to double check you or give you feedback.
Yeah, exactly. So do you work one-on-one with people, group programs? Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing. So tell us more what you're doing on the strength program, and then we'll talk physical therapy a little bit.
So I work one-on-one with people. I also have worked with teams. So I go into the weight room with a school cheer team, and then other school cheer teams, they can't get in the weight room, but they still use me for like body weight exercises. They use their gym and we do exercises that way. And then the only group training I'm doing this summer is my 12-week program. So it's 12 weeks, 3 days a week, working out in person with me for an hour each day. And that's with a group of cheerleaders. And it's a little bit more than just lifting, and bringing in like speakers, giving them some nutritional advice and things like that. So that's the only group thing I have right now, besides working with the cheer teams at their school.
That's awesome. That's it. And I like the 12-week structure of that, because that gives you time or gives them time to progress through the, because it's hard. Like you can get into a good routine in 4 weeks or so, but to continue to progress, like it takes that time to get there.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it because I called it Cheer Transformation Challenge because they're going to have 3 months to learn how to lift for their sport, learn more about nutrition, talk to sports psychologists, nutritionists, college coaches. So I think they're going to have a lot of time to see a whole lot of improvement. And I'm really excited to see like what my athletes that are doing that 12-week program, how they do and how they transform their cheer skills also.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear how has it started?
It starts next week.
Oh, wow.
We're almost there. I've been planning it for a while.
Yeah. That's coming up quick. I can't believe summer's here already.
I know.
So tell us what you have going on for physical therapy. Are you in a clinic? Do you tell us more about your physical therapy practice?
So for physical therapy, I rent out space at the same place I'm doing personal training at. It's a personal training gym in Westerville called Back to Basics Movement and Training. So there's a room in that gym that has therapy tables where I spend probably about half of the session with my physical therapy clients, talking, getting subjective information about how they're doing, what's going on with them, doing any manual work that I feel like we need to do. And then the other half of the session is in the gym, picking up weights and learning how weightlifting can help them improve their injury or reduce their injury risk.
Awesome. Do you find that people are afraid to get back into lifting after they've had an injury?
Yeah. So it's part of that is just trying to reduce that fear and doing it slowly and gradually so that they see that you can get back into lifting. It's just going to take a little bit of time and effort.
Yeah. Same as with everything. Everybody wants a quick fix and wants to get back quick, but it just takes time and consistency and practice in that.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned your screening tool on Instagram, and you've got your 12-week program coming up. Are there any other programs or anything that you've got in the works coming up down the pike, because I live in Massachusetts and that we live our life by the pike, but down the road?
The other thing that I have on my Instagram is a free 5-step guide to making a college cheer team that just kind of gives a structure on like what you should be doing during the week to reach your goal of being a collegiate level cheerleader. So I also have that free guide on my Instagram. I'm hoping to start more group training after the summer's over, going into the fall, to do a cheerlifting class at least once a week. So I'm working on adding that too, but not until after the 12-week program is over after the summer.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, this has been awesome. It's exciting for me to talk to new grads and strength coaches who have a lot of experience, as well as specifically, you've been in the cheer world and your experience as a cheer athlete. I think that it's fun. It's fun for me to talk with and learn about. So thank you for being here. So tell people where can people tell me where people can reach you. Tell us where people can reach you.
You can reach me on my Instagram. Either my personal page is at mariawisman, or my business page is at Everyone Should Lift PT. And then my email is mariawisman@everyoneshouldlift.com. My website is www.everyoneshouldlift. So just Google Everyone Should Lift, follow me on Instagram, email me, DM me. Any of those ways is fine.
Awesome. And all those links will be in the show notes too. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Maria, for being here. And I look forward to talking with you ongoing as time goes on, and hearing about your 12-week program and everything you got going on beyond. Thanks to everyone for joining us today on The Cheer Athlete. Don't forget, when in doubt, breathe it out. Take life one step at a time. And as my friend Drew Kelleher said, you are responsible for your own vibes. So go have a great day.